So I recently had a little bit of extra free time on my hands.
Coronavirus!
And I used some of it to rewatch the Star Wars prequels. And in this video, I want to go over a couple of crazy things that I noticed with a fresh review of the prequels. This is stuff that I'm betting you missed on your prequel watch through, or maybe stuff that you've just never even considered from the movies. What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. Make sure you use your force powers to smash that like button, and let's get right into this video. Let me get into my thoughts and revelations about the prequels, man. The number one thing I wanted to convey is just how much I absolutely love these movies. Despite all of the flaws in these movies, I absolutely love the sense of adventure, the development of the different characters, and just the overall thrill of watching the story take place over these three movies. And I'm actually more convinced than ever that yes, indeed, the prequels are literally better than the sequels.
What did you say?
And that's not meant to be one of those things where it's like, their sequels are so crappy, even the prequels are better than them, ha 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 ha. No, it's not like that. I'm sure there are young people that actually love the sequels and they're finding their own joy from the sequel movies, and maybe we'll look back at the sequels more fondly as some time passes, but just from the standpoint of an overall flow in a trilogy, the prequels feel way more cohesive than the sequel trilogy, despite some of the flaws that the prequels had. But I just want to put that out front, man. I love Star Wars, and I really love the prequel trilogy. I think it's actually way better than most of us remember, even Attack of the Clones. And the next thing that I noticed when watching the prequels was that I'm almost certain there's some kind of a mystery or a secret being kept between Mace Windu and Yoda and the rest of the Jedi. When Qui-Gon brings up the fact that he thinks he faced down a Sith Lord on Tatooine, the rest of the Jedi are like, there's no way, right? Mundi even says we haven't seen, or that the Sith have been extinct for over a millennia. And then there's these weird looks between Yoda and Mace Windu, and the way they discuss that thing is just, it feels like they have some information that the rest of the Jedi do not. Mace Windu later tells Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan that they need to discover the identity of the secret attacker because they need to unravel the mystery of the Sith. And there's actually just a bunch of moments throughout the entire prequel trilogy where it's just Mace Windu and Yoda. They're literally just hanging out together. And during these scenes, they discuss a variety of things. Like, number one, they actually discuss the rule of two at the end of The Phantom Menace. Number two, they talk about their diminished abilities within the Force. And Mace Windu actually thinks that they should perhaps tell the Senate that their ability to conceive and communicate with the Force has been diminished, to which Yoda tells him, we cannot. Only the Master of the Sith knows our weakness. If we reveal this, then our enemies will just grow in number. And so there's this weird thing where between Mace and Yoda, they know that only the Master of the Sith knows about their diminished abilities with the Force. Doesn't that seem like there's something going on there that only they know about? There's the moment where Yoda is sensing the great pain that Anakin Skywalker is going through, and it's Mace Windu who comes into the meditation chamber, and it's just the two of them talking about the immense pain that Skywalker is going through. So there just seems to be not only a special relationship between these two Jedi Masters, but possibly a big secret or a bunch of different secrets that they are keeping from both the rest of the Jedi and the Republic. Now, I personally see a great opportunity here for that to be delved into in the High Republic. I believe that there will be some stuff going on in the High Republic that Yoda knows about but keeps a secret from most of the Jedi Council. Perhaps it's sort of a hierarchical thing where only the highest rank Jedi among the Order are privy to the knowledge that Yoda has about the actual Sith, what was actually going on during the High Republic era. I continue to think that is something that could play a big role in the High Republic books, comics, and whatever else they do within the High Republic, and it would be dope to see that sort of paid off in that mysterious, weird relationship between Yoda and Mace Windu. Now, another thing that I noticed when watching the prequels is that Padme is an absolute badass. It's super obvious George was trying to convey that this is where Leia gets her badassery. She gets it from her mother, but also in a sense, Padme is another version of the Leia character made in this next trilogy, and the parallels are super obvious. Padme, especially in the first two movies in the prequels, is very capable capable. She actually goes against what Sidious thinks she'll do in The Phantom Menace and goes back to Naboo, gets the Gungans to help with their revolution, and using the Gungan army create a distraction that allows her to take back control of the kingdom. That was totally her own idea, not a move that Sidious thought she would even make, and it's just that sort of badass character where she's taking it on herself. She's doing what she feels she must. In Attack of the Clones, she's super headstrong. It's seen as almost a character flaw at the beginning of the movie, and then later on, of course, she is the one that convinces Anakin to go after Obi-Wan on Geonosis. She's actually very capable and helps them out quite a bit during the Battle of Geonosis, and just moving forward from there in that film, she's very capable and plays a big role in actually being sort of heroic. And she also totally seduces Anakin. Like, I'm convinced after watching those scenes on Naboo that she's dressing the way she's dressing. She's doing what she's doing. She's reeling him in. Again, just she's the one in control in that situation. She was manipulating Anakin, pretty sure.
I'd be more concerned about her doing something than him.
And frankly, she's just way more badass than I remember. Like, she's sort of downplayed, and I know a lot of us make fun of the fact that she essentially dies from sadness at the end of Revenge of the Sith. And if you know about what was going on in the behind the scenes, her and George were really butting heads. Originally, Padme in the script was actually going to attempt to kill Anakin after she figures out all the horrible things that he has done, but they changed that, and that doesn't happen. And then Padme essentially just gives birth to the twins and then dies of sadness. And I know that's really lame, but really, that's just one moment in her life. I know it's a big, laughable, hilarious, memeable moment, but she's very badass in these other two movies, even more than I remember. So that's another thing that just kind of stuck out to me. I was like, dude, Padme's kind of a badass. And now we're going to get into some sort of really speculative but really nerdy stuff that I noticed. Number one, I think that Sidious actually wanted to split the Jedi Order and have different Jedi on different sides of the Clone Wars. And this all comes from the lines that Count Dooku says to Obi-Wan Kenobi in Attack of the Clones on Geonosis. He tells Obi-Wan, like, what if I told you that the Senate and the Republic was under the control of a Sith Lord? He also mentions Qui-Gon and the fact that Qui-Gon and Dooku had such a great relationship and that he could have used Qui-Gon's help. Now, Obi-Wan's like, Qui-Gon Jinn would never help you and all that sort of stuff, but there's a clear attempt there to try to get Obi-Wan to think that he's on the right side of history, that there's a Sith Lord manipulating the Jedi and the Republic, and that the Separatists basically being run by Dooku are the true good that are trying to get rid of the Sith Lord. And my only explanation for why he did this was to try to get Obi-Wan, and through Obi-Wan maybe other Jedi, to leave the Jedi Order and actually join up with Dooku and the Separatists fighting against the remaining Jedi and the Republic, trying to liberate them from the Sith Lord. Because it just doesn't make sense as to why Dooku would mention that or bring that up, because the whole reason Dooku joins with Sidious is because he views Sidious as the most powerful being in the galaxy and as an inevitable ruler to it. He's like, look, this dude, he's it. He's the big cheese. He's going to rule the galaxy. I want to be at the side of this person rather than in the front or opposing this person. So there's like just no reason, there's no other explanation as far as why Dooku would bring that up to Obi-Wan. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to literally split the Jedi Order, which, to be fair, would have been amazing to see on screen if, like, the Clone Wars was actually, like, some Jedi going to Dooku's side, trying to fight against who they think is being manipulated by the Sith, which, by the way, is actually true. Like, that's what's going on. That would have been really fascinating, right? If the Clone Wars had Jedi on different sides. But alas, that is not the way it went down. Now, the last crazy thing that I noticed from the prequels is the Moon, who was a part of the banking guild that's on Geonosis in Attack of the Clones. Now, this was something that, you know, I'm sure I was aware of back in the day, but I just didn't realize how important and integral this is. And it actually leads me to believe and reminds me that Palpatine's massive plan to take over the galaxy was actually not Palpatine's plan at all. It was actually Plagueis' plan. And Plagueis had actually been planning this for decades. And his whole plan was to actually put up a human, or have a very smart human be in charge of the galaxy, but this human would end up being a puppet that actually Plagueis was going to sort of be the shadow ruler of the entire galaxy and pull the strings of this human ruler, because the moons and the banking guild were some of the most wealthy and influential people in the galaxy. They were very, very wealthy, and they had a lot of power around the galaxy. And Plagueis, as just his moon self, was planning things, manipulating things, pulling in a lot of power, and doing all of this to set this war up, so that essentially he would have somebody in the Republic be sort of promoted to this emperor or king type position because of the war, and then that person would be his puppet, and he could then rule the galaxy this way. And this moon character is discarded by Darth Vader in Revenge of the Sith, and I believe as the story goes in canon, then the Empire and Sidious actually just takes complete control of the banking guilds anyways. He just takes all of that wealth for himself. Again, Palpatine takes Plagueis' plan and then just flips it on its head. He takes Plagueis out of the equation, makes himself ruler, but obviously there's no puppet master to him, and then he's just in charge. But it's just interesting because if you've read the Plagueis novel and you understand that stuff, which is mostly from Legends now, I think just seeing the moon in general, hearing the banking guild, and just understanding that that was a layer to what was going on in the Clone Wars made me realize that actually Palpatine's brilliant plan was not actually Palpatine's brilliant plan. It was Plagueis' plan. But that's all the stuff I noticed on my prequels rewatch, so I want to know what you think about this. What do you think about some of the stuff I brought up? Do you think it's actually in the film? How could it tie into the High Republic or future Star Wars content? Whatever you're thinking, let me know in the comment section below. And now let's shout out Luke Shields. Indeed, the planet from which Ezra Bridger is from is Lothal. So shout out to you, Luke. And now let's ask another nerd card question before we get out of here. I want to know, what was the real name of Darth Plagueis? You know, his just moon name. Answer that question in the comment section below. I want to remind you that we are indeed trying to organize teams for our massive trivia contest, which is coming up next month. This will be a dope trivia contest where you can actually participate with the team to win some awesome prizes. If you're interested in participating and you have a team, or you're just a solo person looking for a team, email us at thedenofnerds@gmail.com or hit us up on social media. You can click or tap over there to watch some other videos, get lost down a nerdy rabbit hole with us. Like the video if you liked it, and as I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.